It's just gonna be fun and casual today. We're just gonna, you guys are just gonna ask me any questions you have, and I'm gonna talk about the industry. We can talk about what it used to be like. We can talk about what it's like now. Basically, I'm just here to answer any questions you have about woman in voice acting, or anything else that you want to ask. But as far as the industry is concerned right now, the one main difference is that we always used to go in-house. Does everybody know what in-house means? Yeah, like I had to walk in, shake somebody's hand, go in the booth, and voice act in front of everybody and audition. And I kind of like that because it puts some pressure on. I have like a certain amount of minutes to look at the sides. We almost never got them in advance. You know, you'd be sitting on a couch in the waiting room, and you didn't want to be the crazy one talking to yourself. So you really have to have some ideas in the back of your head about characters in general and where they come from. And then you have to make mental adjustments in your head when you see, this guy is, 13. And you'll be like, well, you know, I was 8 last week, and I kind of remember what that's like, but this guy is really shy. And then there might be a series of other adjectives that are added on to that. And so you have to make mental adjustments. I'm hearing myself in echo. And so live auditioning is very different. It still happens, and for a lot of commercial stuff, definitely a lot of it is still live. But there's a lot of home submission now. So, you know, I might be in my pajamas after I put my kids in bed at 10 o'clock at night in the basement, auditioning for something. So it's very different. I have as much time as I want to think about the character. I've gotten the sides in advance. It's very different, but ironically, I prefer the interaction with the director, and I prefer getting some sort of feedback, you know? They might say like, I love that, but can you make her more aggressive? And then right in that moment, I can do that, whereas when I'm at home, in my basement, in my pajamas, I'm thinking, should she be more aggressive? I'm not sure. And I don't really get those kinds of answers, you know what I mean? So in that regard, voice acting has changed drastically. And I would say even in the last like 6 months, I think I had like 8 auditions last week in a period of 4 days, and they were all at home. So it's very different. Do we have any questions? And is there someone who's going to be keeping track of time so that I know when to stop and start things? You got one? Oh, any questions for me about anything? Over here. She's coming to you.
Before you actually like get a role or anything like that, I know that they say you should send in a demo. Before you have anything to put on it, are you allowed to use copywritten material, or should you use like...
That's a great question. Yes, you are. You are allowed to use copywritten material because you are not selling it, and you are labeling it demo. People don't know this. I've never really said it in public except for on Instagram maybe like a week ago, but I do coach, and part of that is I don't advertise. It's word of mouth, and it's generally people who have a theater degree and have at least 2 years of stage experience that I work with. But because there's a certain amount of discipline that goes into it, and when I have someone who's already been through that discipline, it's easier to make the transition. But in answer to your question, it's totally fine. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, only because, Simon Cowell would say in American Idol, do you really want to do Whitney Houston in front of everyone when Whitney Houston already did Whitney Houston? And she's such an iconic thing. If it's a lesser known character that people are not familiar with, I don't think it's a bad idea. But with my students, what we do is we develop our own characters. And if you come to my panel on Sunday, I have a little bit, like some fun exercises and games on how we actually do that. It's different because it's over a period of 6 months or so as opposed to 1 hour. But I have some games that we can do that are a lot of fun. So what I recommend you doing is developing your own characters, your own original characters, because once those people hear that demo, they'll go, oh, I wonder if that's her character, that's her original character, and then you can plug that in, kind of use it. Obviously, the character might be a different age, might be a different ethnicity, might be a different, might have a different emotional life than that character that you originally did, so you'd have to change that once you go in for the audition for something else, but you do have a reference point, somewhere to start from. And people might actually call you in and be like, you know that voice you did on your demo? Like, I'd like to hear that, you know? So that really helps. That's a fantastic question. Also, I recommend to people, it's a little trick of mine, I wouldn't even label it a demo. I would just say, what's your name? Kara, or, I'm just making it up, yeah. Courtney. I would say Courtney character.mp3. That's what I would label it. I wouldn't even label it demo. You want to know why? You have a good sound designer. They could hear it and think, oh, I wonder what show that's from. They'll have no idea if you're really good. It's not like you're intentionally tricking them, but in the same regard, why not let them think it's a professional thing that you did and that you already worked on? But if they hear that it was a character that already existed, they're going to know you were just doing that character. Also, they might expect you to sound like that character, and that comes to another thing. If you want to put impersonations on your demo or on your character reel, they have to be really, really good. Like, don't put anything in there that's just so-so. Unless you're very funny with improvisation and you're going to do something like you have a very specific take on that character. But I like to do things called character morphs that I've discovered over the years, which is like, I'll take two characters, like iconic characters, and I'll put them together. And be like, you know, what would it be like if Elmo and Grover's voices were kind of mixed? You know, what would that character sound like? And then you can write that character. And it's okay to be inspired by a character, and in fact, there are archetypes out there that people are listening for sometimes. Like, I don't know if you guys know the Candy King from Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah. Well, that voice has been around for years. Yeah. And other people have done that voice, and it's kind of like a sound, you know? Same with like oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the character, but Heavens to Murgatroyd, the Pink Panther guy from Hanna-Barbera. There are Snagglepuss, thank you very much. There are iconic voices out there that people are looking for, you know. They might be like, also, can you make that more Christopher Walken-ish? And FYI, like every guy I have ever worked with does Christopher Walken. Like every single one. Everybody has a Christopher Walken impersonation. So anybody have any questions pertaining to what I just talked about or anything else? Anything about demos or character work or developing your own characters or anything at all? Yes. Down in the front. Oh, I love projection. Just as long as it's not on my forehead. I made her snort. I'm so happy.
Good job. In accordance to, you know, the same notion as not having a demo and getting that out there, is there a website or a place to put that stuff kind of like backstage for acting?
Yes, absolutely. There's a ton of them. There's Edge Studios.
Okay.
Take notes, people. There's voices.com. There's Voices123. In fact, someone just reached out to me the other day. I met someone and they heard my voice on a podcast, and then she emailed me and said, are you on Voices123? And I was like, no. I mean, it's not everybody's on Voices123, but if you're just starting, absolutely. But I'm like on my agent's website, and I'm on, you know, just my own website or whatever. You know, people can reach out to me on the fan page and things like that. So anyhow, those do cost money. I don't know what they cost. One is better than the other. One of my students got was a member for both, and she was going to write out this whole thing for me to send to my other students to tell them why this one's better than the other one. One of them gives you feedback. One of them lets you know if someone, you know, they give you a score to kind of like rate your audition, which is interesting. I don't know how I would feel about that, but who knows. Edge is for free, and they actually do demo production. There's also a place called Voice Coaches in Albany that does demo production. They do amazing work for commercials, and supposedly I'm going to start working with them on character stuff. So I just would do like an hour with someone if they were going to do a character track demo. Then they would talk to me on the phone for like an hour, and I would advise them in some sort of way. Any other like questions about that? About how to get yourself out there?
No, I think that's pretty good. Oh.
Yeah.
You just mentioned that you had an agent. How did you go about that? Did the agent find you, or did you find
It's
the agent?
never the same way, and it's almost like a catch-22. I've had many agents and managers over the years for different things. For my theatrical agent, I had to audition when I graduated from NYU to be in the showcase, because there were so many. There were 440 graduates that year. So I had to audition, I got in, there's like 20 spots, and then there was 30 industry people there, 19 agents. And I was lucky enough to, this is very important advice that I'm about to give you, because it really launched my career. Versatility. What I did was, they said we had 2 minutes and we had to do 1 song. And I thought, well, I don't want to do 1 song. You know, I do more than 1 thing, so why should I do 1 song? So I split it into 2 songs, a belting song and a soprano song, and I gave her a split personality. So I was able to show a vast, you know, much more of what I do in 2 minutes. And because of that, I think that's why I got so many responses from agents and stuff. Like, I had to meet with them. So there's that way, the school way, the college way. So I got to meet with all 19 of them at different times at my own discretion. And then I got to choose, you know, based on what they told me they thought my career was going to be, things like that. For my voice agent, I actually, this is a really funny story. I was in a production of Into the Woods. Does everyone know Into the Woods? Probably like 2 years ago, nobody knew Into the Woods except for us musically. Well, I actually did it in high school. I played the witch. But then in college, I played Rapunzel, and that's a funny story too. I was not allowed to audition as a freshman for productions. But a bunch of my other friends were doing it, and I was like, well, I'm gonna do it too. And then I got in trouble. I almost got kicked out because they were like, you're not supposed to be in a production. And they're like, but you already started rehearsal, so we're not gonna pull you out. But I was in the production, and somebody in the production heard or found out that I did crazy voices and stuff. This is before my voiceover career started. And there was the baby cry. So I was actually the voice of the baker's wife's baby from backstage. And so Abrams Artists Children's Division was there and seeing the girl who played Little Red. And she said, you know, that voice was done by Rapunzel backstage, and the woman was really impressed. And so they had me come in, and this is another thing that I did that nobody will tell you to do, and you just kind of do your own thing, but I think this is a great thing to do. Is from a very young age, I started writing down everything that I do, even if it was weird. Like, I'd write it down and put it under a category. Any accent I could do, I'd write it down and put it under a category. Any impersonation I could do, I'd write it down and put it under a category. I'd do stand-up comedian impersonations, I'd put it down under a category. Original voices category. Cartoon voices category. I had it all on a document, and I brought it in during the meeting, and I gave it to them. And they played with it. It was fun. They were like, oh, how about this one? How about this one? People love that. They love when you come in prepared, and they love it when they ask you a question and you don't go. They love it if you have something to say. So write that stuff down. And it doesn't mean like you're gonna write it down in one day. It's like literally in 3 days you'll be like, oh, you know, my mom's best friend has the weirdest laugh. Like, I think I can make a character out of her. So you study your mom's best friend, you get it down, and then you call her Jeanette, and you put it onto your original characters. So it's something that's built over a period of time. It can take 5 years to do, but when you have that piece of paper, it's great because you don't forget what you do. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I won't write something down, and then like 10 years later, I'll be like, there was this guy I met who was the translator for the Spanish ambassador.
And he had the weirdest voice I've ever heard in my life. I forgot about him.
And then I put him down on something. And then I just recently got to use him as an extra in something, whatever. I like to go on tangents, so I can't remember the original question. But yes, it's very helpful. The agent, yes. So I met with them and I got in the children's division. I was still at NYU. I was paying an insane amount of money to go there, and I had student loans for 10 years afterwards. So I ended up saying, hey guys, I'm really sorry, but I cannot miss class. And I left. Do you know how long it took me to get back in? I mean, it's crazy. It's really, with voiceover especially, it's even harder than theater, I think. Because at least with theater, you're you can invite them, you can send out a postcard and be like, I'm gonna be in this production in New York, come see me. And you might get someone to come see you, you know? But it's difficult no matter what, and there's so many different ways to get there. The second time was I had a manager, and I told him that I did voiceover and stuff, and he set me up with a meeting with the adult division Abrams, and I met with him, and that's how I got my agent the second time. And there's other stories of how I got my manager, and other stories of how I got my second theater agent. So my first theater agent was starting to get upset at me because they wanted to run my career, because that's what agents kind of are supposed to do, right? But actually not. You run your career. They wanted to run it. They wanted me doing lots of musical reviews, and they just wanted me working, and I was like, I just want to be in original productions. I want to create roles. And they were like, what? And then I was like, and then I really annoyed them, because 2 years later I was like, I only want to do original plays in New York. And they were like, you know, because the work amount was going like this. I was narrowing myself down like this. But for me, that was important. I didn't want to go recreate what somebody else had already done. I really wanted to do original roles. And at that time, I did 4 or 5 original musicals or plays in New York, and it was awesome, you know? And I may not have, you know, built the career the way they wanted me to, but that's what I ended up doing. And I got an agent that was totally on board. She didn't care if I made her money all the time. She was like, I just want you to do what you want to do. So you do have to realize that any agent, yes, it's better than no agent, but at some point you have to find the right one, you know? Any other questions out there? Yes, this gentleman over here. I feel like I'm doing stand-up or something.
Hi, my name is Corey.
Hi, Corey.
I have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
Talking more about after you have gone through the whole process, maybe got an agent, you got your first job, how do you prepare to go in, if you go in-house or if you're recording at home? What foods do you eat, what foods do you avoid? And when you first started, after you got some roles after a little while, what role challenged you, made you better, and really broke you into the voiceover industry?
Okay, what theater role?
Whatever.
Broke me into the, okay. The first question, how do you prepare? Everybody prepares differently. When I go in for a musical theater audition, I hum a lot in the morning, and I have chamomile tea with honey in it. And I go, until I can talk when there's no roughness on my chords. Then I sing. Something like that. And I'll do that over and over and over again for 25 minutes, and I'll do every kind of chord and progression there is. I prepare a lot when I go in for musicals. When I go in for voiceover, if it's a low role and a resident role, I roll out of bed and I walk to the studio, and that's all I do. Because if you're doing morning residence, you want the lowest voice that you have, you know. So if you're going in for a Revlon commercial, it's about being sexy, I'm not gonna warm up. But if I'm playing a little girl in a show, I'm gonna see how high I can get, warm up, and make sure that I can get the high notes as I go in. Sometimes you don't know what you're going in for. You walk in and you don't know if I'm going to be high, I'm going to be low, I'm going to be male, I'm going to be female. I don't know. So you just have to have an open mind about, I think with voiceover, more so than theater even, just be ready for anything, for them to throw anything at you. Because Sometimes they'll throw one character at you and you'll go, and you'll have been in the waiting room and you'll have read another character and be like, why didn't you call me in for that one? Then you gotta go up to them and say, you know, I know you didn't call me in for this, but I think this would be great for me. That happened to me for, well, before I tell that story, I'm gonna go on to your next question, part 2 of question 1. What to eat? I'm not picky about what I eat. I don't want to get paranoid. I don't want to get worried about. I want to make, make my life as stress-free as possible. So therefore, I don't limit anything. I did notice, though, that vinegars and oils in salad dressing right before a session is a very bad idea. It can give you like reflux or just make you have what's called like a wet mouth. I know that sounds really weird, but
I got you.
Or ticky-tacky, make it ticky-tacky. I'll tell you a funny story that's not a really funny story. Also bring a green apple, like in a bag, or a slice of a green apple. You do not need to eat the green apple. You do not need to chew it. All you have to do is put your tongue on it. And if you're ticky-tacky and the engineer and you take a drink of water and it's still ticky-tacky, then you use the green apple, because that will take out the ticky-tacky sounds. Now, I also, if I'm gonna do a video game session, or I'm gonna play something like Luffy or something for 3 hours, I would bring in tea with honey in it, because if I don't, I will walk out with no voice. I will also vocalize in between, every 4 or 5 cues if I'm doing an old lady and she talks like this and she's screaming all the time, I'm going to, every 4 or 5 cues, I'm gonna go, and the engineer's gonna look at me like I'm here and I have 5 heads. But what that does is that's connecting my vocal cords and kind of making sure they connect right each time. And then I'll take a little sip of tea, because if I do that, I will walk out with the voice I came in with. If I don't, I will walk out in pain with almost no voice at all. So those are tricks that I've learned over the years. But everyone's different. Some people would not have ice cream right before. I try not to give myself too many restrictions, because I want to, like I said, try and live as normal life as possible and not get neurotic about choices. And I feel like it's kind of important. Coffee, though, I would never have coffee before, but that's just me, because it dehydrates the vocal cords. So I think coffee's really bad, and caffeine in general. So if you love coffee and caffeine, I'm sorry. The second question, what prepared me for, oh gosh, I don't know. On Broadway, I understudied 8 roles once, which is kind of awesome, and it made sense, because I oftentimes, there's characters that you guys know that I play, or have played, and you know about them. But what you don't know is that I might play 3 or 4 other characters in that same series that sound nothing like me. So when you're understudying multiple roles like that, you have to really come up with the character that is written that they want. I had to play this woman from, it's like a Reading / Cockney accent, Grace Poole, from Jane Eyre, which is like a literary character. And the accent was like, Master were red and bed, fell asleep with candlelit, bed curtains caught fire by Dexter with Joker. No, I'm done. And but she was like very stoic and sort of like, is she a mass murderer? I don't know. But kind of doing stuff like that really helped prepare me for VO, because there were times where I had to go in the afternoon and play a character, and then in the evening I was somebody else. And then their musical reviews are also very good for that, because does anybody know I Love You, You're Perfect, Not Change? I've done that show, it's super fun. Oh my God, it's ridiculous. But I think I played woman number 1. There's only 4 characters in the show, and she plays like 8 different people at some point, I think, something like that. So again, that like really helps make you versatile. And I cannot stress enough, you might be terrified of the stage, but I cannot tell you how helpful it is for VO. And by the way, in New York, most of the people that I work with are, working theater actors in New York, or musical theater performers. Not all, but I will say that directors do prefer to work with people who sing. Because sometimes our characters are thrown a song in the middle of the day, and we're like, wait, how did this happen? And there's no sheet music, and they're like, sing. And you're like, what? Sometimes they'll like make you make up the song yourself. And then also, certain shows and certain roles are inherently very musical. You know, they have lots of peaks and valleys. And so once you've already experienced that, and you know how to read music and you know how to be overly expressive, it's just the transition into voiceover is just seamless, it really is. Any other questions about there? It could be about voice acting, it could be about anything you like. Dogs. I do like English setters, and Brittany's, and sporting breeds.
Hi, Courtney one more time.
Courtney.
You said that you offer lessons and stuff like that. Is that like on your website or anything?
I don't advertise anywhere, and I just like, it's, I guess you could get a hold of me on my website. I do have an email address. Right now I don't have anything set up for that yet, just because it's kind of recommendation only right now, like through previous students or someone who's a professor somewhere or something that will recommend somebody to me. But if you do have theater training, come find me or talk to me sometime during the weekend, and I'll be able to advise you where you could go for that, or we could talk.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. Anybody else have any questions? Yes. Pranking me? Yes. Sometimes a voice actor has gone in before me, like if it's ADR, and they've said something very, very naughty, or just downright sick. And then they'll play the scene when I'm about to say my line, and then I hear something right before I perform that might throw me or might not. But more often than not, I'm the person pranking people. I don't know why. I'm just, kind of everybody knows that I'm the queen of outtakes, really. Any other questions about anything? Or in the back? She's getting a workout, people.
Hello.
Hello.
Obviously, voice acting isn't entirely about voicing other humans, aliens, or even sometimes things that speak English or any original language. Have you ever experienced issues with getting into a role of a non-human, non-sentient creature?
I love that question. That's to me like a favorite.
Thank you.
First of all, I love to transform. I don't know if people know that about me because some of my characters, sound like me. But my favorite thing to do is to transform. My favorite thing to do is to be zombies. I've actually had a job as a zombie 3 or 4 times. Recently, I just was the voice of a zombie for an amusement park ride. It was just myself and Mark Thompson. He's an amazing transformational voice actor in New York. And frequently, Mark will be all of the creatures and the male creatures, and I will be all of the female creatures. So I don't actually usually have difficulty with that, because that's my favorite thing to do, is to be extremely different than myself. Kind of like, I think that there's like 2 types of acting, and some of us do both, and some of us only do one. Philip Seymour Hoffman, he transformed. And when he passed away, that was sad for me. And for everyone, because we lost one of the greatest actors we have. But Gary Oldman, people that become the roles and you don't even know who they were beforehand, That's my favorite kind of acting, but I also love to be closer to home and be myself. And that's something that over the years I've become more and more comfortable with. I think when we start out acting, we're like, I just want to be somebody else, And then when you start maturing and stuff, you're like, I don't mind being me, like it's okay, I can be close to home. So no, that's like usually my golden zone when I'm feeling the most confident, actually, is when I have to be something totally bizarre and different than myself. And once I got to direct an ADR session, not ADR, prelay session for zombies for a pilot that I did, live action on camera with Jason Griffith. And I just sent out an email to like all my favorite voice actors, like Pollock and Eileen Stevens and Lisa Ortiz and all these people, and I was like, who wants to be a zombie for an hour with me in the booth, like on Friday at 2 o'clock? You know, so there were 7 of us, and we had the most ridiculous time. It was so hard to keep a straight face because I've like got like people groaning over this shoulder, people moaning over this shoulder. We did it like all together, like. I mean, sometimes you just thought someone was gonna spit on your shoulder or something. It was pretty funny. And then Eileen was so funny, I could not even look at her, because she was like this, like, her interpretation of zombie was totally different than everyone else's. And Eileen was like some sort of like gremlin zombie. I don't know, I just couldn't even look at her. But, fun question. Any other questions pertaining to creatures or humans?
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Yes?
Yeah, what is the weirdest thing you've ever played?
The weirdest?
What is like the weirdest like monster, alien, like what is the best creature you've ever played?
Oh, I don't know if I can say offhand, I don't know if I can remember offhand, but it was weird when they Pokemon people hired me to be Garbodor. Because he was so big, he's giant, you know, and I played Trubbish, and they were like, we think you can play Garbodor too. So, is anybody videoing? Nobody's videoing, right? He's like hands-free. Don't arrest me. So, I didn't realize until after, like, you know, 2 years later, my kids are watching it, and I'm like listening in the background, and like my office and my desk is like where they watch television. So I'm constantly distracted, and I'm like, hey, that's me. And I'm like, oh, they lowered my voice. Like, I had no idea they were going to do an effect afterwards, because they rarely do that. But I didn't realize that they wanted him to be like gargantuan, you know? So when I was in the booth, I was like, gargantuan, you know? And then I thought that was enough, but then they pitched me down. So I've gotten to play dragons. I love playing dragons. On Regal Academy, I'm the Cinderella family dragon. I don't know if you know that, but she's sort of demon and dark. And what other fun creatures have I got to play? I got to play like a shadow creature, really scary, just like phantom. I don't know, like probably at least twice a week I play some weird creature somewhere on something. Fun question though. Anything else? Trubbish? Nobody's videoing, right? I get a lot of trouble. Trubbish, it's been a long time. Trubbish. Oh, you guys, I don't know if you know this, but tomorrow, my panel changed. I'm gonna do, I don't know what it's called, something like How to Be a Pokemon, but it's gonna be ridiculous fun because we're going to pick syllables. You know, you're gonna get 3 syllables, and then you're gonna get like a type. We're gonna do, you know, basically gibberish. You know, being a Pokemon is basically speaking in gibberish, but you have meaning. So you can't just, you know, you're not just saying trub, 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 you know. You have in the script, I loathe you. And that's what Trubbish is actually saying. So you have to make it work with what's on camera, those feelings and those actual words is what you're saying. Things like that. So there's actually more of an art to it than people think, but it's a ridiculous amount of fun, and I have done it over 40 times with 40 different characters. So if you come to the panel tomorrow, we're going to do that. Just play games and stuff. And then my panel on Sunday is lots of fun voiceover games and stuff. Any other questions? I have no idea. I have no concept of time up here.
You said that you played like a lot of characters, so what is by far your favorite character that you've ever played?
I can't answer that. Oh my gosh, I don't know, that would be like, who's your favorite, your daughter or your son?
Daughter.
What I love though about having one son and one daughter is I can say, you're my favorite son, you're my favorite daughter. But if you ask me that question, it's going to be a different answer depending on the day of the week, honestly, because I have a couple of favorites and stuff. And some of them you don't know, like, I think Rayanne's maid in Magical Do Re Mi had like 4 episodes, and she was drawn with like lines coming out of her face, and like her eyes were like really small, and she always looked like she was shouting. So we decided that she was very hard of hearing. And so my inspiration for her, well, maybe I shouldn't tell you what the inspiration was, but all she ever did was yell Rayanne, like when Rayanne was like late for school or whatever, or she couldn't get her out of bed. And I don't want to like hurt everybody's ears, but I would just go, Rayanne, Rayanne, Rayanne! You know, it was kind of, I don't know if it was that crazy, but Rayanne, that's what it was, Rayanne! Which was kind of like, a little bit of like Bobcat Goldthwait mixed with a little bit of Animal from the Muppets. So those are kind of like my inspiration for her. But I did love to play Bianca in Pokemon because I just love pushing Ash into like various bodies of water. And I love how theatrical she was when she would come on screen and stuff. And I am one of those physical voice actors. Some people stand there, you know, and they can, you know, just get out of my way! Like that, you know, whatever. If I'm in the voice booth and I'm gonna yell, like, get out of the way, I'm gonna be like this. Get out of the way! You know, and I'll be like, Erica, you stop moving, please. You're going off mic, you know. Over the years, I've gotten better at not going off mic, but I find that the more physical you are in the booth, the better. So, the only thing you can't do, this is a very important rule, is if you're running, which you're constantly running, and we always joke that like every character has asthma. I know that's terrible, but like you're running and they're like, you know, you cannot pick up your feet ever in the booth. And also, a lot of people have a bad habit of being like, you know, you're constantly hitting your thighs. So you can't, the rules are, you can move around all you want, but don't hit your thighs. Wear clothes like this. Like this would be a perfect outfit to wear, but maybe more comfy shoes. Because you don't want to wear what's called noisy clothing. Like, don't wear a leather jacket with zippers, even though that's like one of my favorite things to wear. But don't wear that in the booth. Don't wear noisy linen things or like stuff that would, you know, if you move around, that's going to make noise. And never pick up your feet. Never, ever, ever pick up your feet. So like if you're running, you can't do this. But you can do this and go, you know, whatever. I don't really do that for running, but if I'm like gonna throw something at someone, like, take this! You know, I'll throw, and I'll go, and I'm punching, get out of my way! You know, I'll punch the air. So sometimes I do have a habit of knocking over water bottles. And like pushing down like stands and things like that. I don't have to apologize. But I do find that the more physical that you are in the booth, the better. I mean, it just helps you. And I don't know if you noticed, but like when I become like, you know,
an old lady or something, you know, my voice becomes an old lady, but also my face does, you know. It changes.
Because you can't just do it without transforming, you know. By the way, I recently did a podcast for the first time, which was totally awesome, one of my favorite experiences ever. It's called the Truth Podcast, and I got to play this character called Do the Voice, who just happened to be a famous voice actress. They can't.
Okay, this is over now. Yes, sir.
I'm so glad it wasn't like, we're tired of you, or, you know, you're cut off. You've had too much to drink, but I haven't had anything actually. All right, I don't remember where I was. Being physical in the booth, it's great. And transforming your face and other things like that helps. Any other questions from anyone out there? So you like Into the Woods, huh? Who's your favorite character? love her. I would love to play her. I think, though, if I, do it again, I'll probably play the baker's wife. Yeah, or the witch again. That was a ridiculous amount of fun. But I was too much in love with Bernadette Peters' performance. She's amazing. I mean, amazing. The thing is that's difficult I find it difficult when you're a good impersonator, is to listen to cast albums, because then if you fall in love with that person's performance, it's never going to leave your head. The good news is, though, if you hate the person's performance, I should say hate, I don't like that word, but loathe, dislike, don't like the performance, then it's kind of awesome, because then you can just learn it that way, but you don't have to copy anything you do, or try not to copy, I should say, anything you do. How much time do we have left? I'm just doing a time check. Awesome, and I know we usually end 5 minutes early.
15 minutes.
And so about 10 then, because right, 'cause we have to end 5 early. Anybody else have any questions about him? Yes, with the bunny ears.
So, as a woman doing voice acting and as well as theater, and I've done theater before, so I understand how that all works. Have you ever run into any barriers or frustrations with it, just specifically as a woman?
Yes. I don't know about, I don't know about specifically as a woman. I think my biggest thing that I had issue with, and I don't think it necessarily has to do with being a woman, but is being put in a box, categories. They love to categorize constantly. I'm a this with a this. I'm a that, 2 6 to thing, I believe in following the rules to a certain extent. I was a Girl Scout, so I do know how to follow rules, but I do also believe that some rules are meant to be broken. So, take for instance, what I couldn't stand was a lot of times they would want 16 bars of music. Does everyone know what that means? Just a small snippet. If you all saw, what was that one about the musical, and it was one word? Anyhow, you would audition with 16 bars of music. So what people do is they're like, this is the moment. They'll come to the end of the song and they're like, all they do is just the end. And it's there's no storytelling. And all it is about and some of the girls will just belt their butts off, and they sound very strident and kind of annoying at the end, And so I didn't like doing that. So instead of being a jerk and saying, I won't do that, what I would do is I would go in with a song, and I would just simply say, hey, I hope you guys don't mind, but I really love to tell stories. So if you don't mind, I'm going to start at the beginning, and then just cut me off when you don't want to hear anymore. Nobody had a problem with it. They loved it, because I was truthful and honest about it. And I would say it got cut off maybe twice. They let me sing the whole song and let me tell a story, because I believe in storytelling and I don't believe in showing off your strongest 16 bars of music. So that was a frustration, but I found a way to overcome it. Also, the biggest thing that bothered me a lot was, are you a character actor or are you an ingenue? Yeah, and it's I'm both. I'm whatever you need me to be. I'm whatever there is, I'm willing to do that, I can be that, so please don't put me in a box, Are you a soprano or are you an alto? I'm both, depending on the weight of the role and what I want to put into it. I can be anything that you want. Are you a film actor or a theater actor? I'm both. So don't let people put you in a box. It's the worst thing you can do. If people put me in a box, I never would have played a zombie. I never would have played a boy. I never would have played a 75-year-old woman. I never would have done so many of the awesome things that I've had the opportunity to do because somebody tried to put me in a box. So I would just say, don't let yourself be put there, With the gentleman earlier asked me a question about something, and I was saying, if you're in the waiting room and you see a role that you want to play that they didn't think of you for, a role of the opposite gender, some casting directors only think of women as women, and some, will not do that. So I got called in for this pilot, 10 10 years ago called The Moodsters, which was directed by Lisa Simon. She either won 18 Emmys or she was nominated for 18 Emmys for Sesame Street and all these amazing things. And I'm a huge Sesame Street fan. When I was as a kid, I'm still a fan. I think it's one of the most amazing shows out there still. So funny, the parody work that they do. And they called me in for this is before that movie came out about all the moods and the colors and stuff. I can't even think what it's called, animated film. Inside Out, yeah. This was way before that, and it was a show for preschoolers, and it was amazing. It was such a cute little piece. And they called me in for the red girl, the character of the red girl, and she represented anger.
You know, so I had to go in and be like really angry about everything.
And then I read the script. This is one of the ones I got in advance, and I was like, oh, I want to be the nervous guy who's green. I really want to be that guy. But I also want to be the older woman who's human in the show. And I also want to be the blue boy who's sad all the time. And I'd also like to be the cute little one who's in love with everything and everyone. So when I went in, I said, hey, I know I'm here to read for this one, but can I read for everything else? And they were so cool. They were like, yes, the only one you can't read for is the woman because we want a black woman who's a jazz singer. And I was like, okay, well, I can't be that. So I won't do that. But everything else I got to audition for, and because I asked, because I spoke up, I got cast as the blue boy, the sad boy, and got to play that part. So always ask, you know, like the worst thing they can do is say no, and I've only had people say no once, and that was actually with Darren Dunstan, you know, from Yu-Gi-Oh! He's a really good friend of mine as well, and he and I have done 2 theater pieces together. But once I went in, I really wanted to audition for Astral. Is anybody familiar with that character?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I wanted to make it like Gollum-esque. Because the description that they wrote for him was like, could be male, could be female, could be human, could be alien, could be it was like every single thing. And I thought it was amazing because I was like, wow, they're really like letting us play, like anything. And then the problem was I told him what I was going to do before I did it. He was like, no. And I was like, but wait. He was like, no, I don't want it. And I was like, but please, you know. So I guess that taught me a lesson. Don't ask, just do it. Don't ask, just do it, because who knows, he may have loved my interpretation or whatever, but Mark Thompson did end up getting that role, and he's phenomenal and amazing, and was meant for it. That's another thing that gets me my mental health through being an actor. I have pretty good mental health, and by that I mean my self-esteem pretty much stays intact most of the time. And that's not just because I happen to be one of the lucky ones that gets to work a lot. It's because I tell myself, and this is not a religious thing, I have no affiliation with any organization or anything. It has to do with me being zen with myself and knowing what is meant to be and what is not. So what I tell myself every time before I audition is I say, if this is meant to be, it will. If it is not meant to be, it won't. You know, if the part is meant to be mine, then it comes to me and I'm grateful for it. And if it's not, then I'm grateful for the person who gets it. Because you cannot be jealous. I'm gonna say this, you know, 5 times. You cannot be jealous, you cannot be jealous, you cannot be jealous, you cannot be envious. You can have those feelings for a moment, but then you gotta put it in a bubble, except for friends, and just let it go. You have to let it go, because if you hold on to it, you're going to end up angry and bitter and unemployed. And that's the most unattractive type of actor there is. It's the same way, just so you know, like if you end up doing this over the long run, someone's going to play a part that you played after you. Someone's going to play a part that you played before you. And you cannot get like locked into, why did they take my part? You know, it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. The reason why people are recast is because the people producing it thought they could do it cheaper in a different city. That's the #1 reason. It's not always the reason. Another reason is that, you know, the property, the people that have it, they're not doing what they really want with it, over the general vision of it, or the main actor moved to another country, and now everybody else has to be recast over there. It always has to do with a higher up decision, and it has nothing to do with your performance. It has nothing to do with you, and you also have to understand that yes, you may have played that role or are going to play that role, but it doesn't entirely belong to you anyway. It belongs to the person who wrote it. It belongs to the producer. It belongs to the director. It belongs to the person that will play it, the person who did play it. So it's like you just have to learn to share, you know, and be cool with that whole concept. Because again, if you get locked into that, you will be a bitter, angry, unemployed actor. So finding the joy in this career is about finding the joy for your fellow actors and their accomplishments too. If you celebrate them, I guarantee you, you will be happy forever. It's kind of a cool thing. Maybe 5 minutes to that? Or 10? We have like 5 more minutes. Does anybody have questions about anything that we already talked about or anything we didn't talk about? Anything at all?
Just one little continuation. Just before your mic cut off, you said, and this was inspired by, it was the old lady, and I'm dying to know who it was.
Oh, where are you? Hi. Do you remember what I was talking about? Oh, this was inspired by, I think some people did hear me. I was saying it was Animal from the Muppets mixed with Bobcat Goldthwait, who I actually worked with for like a half a day and didn't know it was him. And when I found out it was him, I was like, are you kidding me? Because there are certain people that I do love and think are kind of brilliant, and he is one of them. I was doing an episode of Chappelle's Show, and I was on set, and he was the director. And then somebody said, that's Bobcat Goldthwait, and I was like, what? I was like, he looks like Bono. Like, when he's not being crazy, he's like kind of a handsome guy. I was like, wow. And I almost did my impersonation of him for him with the bridesmaid's dress on. But then he was really excited to hear it. And then, well, I mean, I tell myself he was. He might have been like, who's this crazy extra actor who's annoying me? I did have a close-up though. But he got called back to set. He got called back to set, so I didn't get to do it for him. But I did earn a close-up from him by doing something that was unexpected. So like those rules and stuff. One of the characters I had the setup to a joke, and the other character had the joke. So technically I was supposed to be the straight man. I don't know if you know how that works, but sometimes you're both funny. But anyhow, I was supposed to be the straight man, and the other actress was supposed to be the funny one, and she was funny. She gave the line. Well, after she was finished, I decided that my character thought it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard in her life. So I give this ridiculous laugh, like absolutely ridiculous. And then Bobcat goes, get a close-up of her. And I was like, I earned a close-up from Bobcat Goldthwait. Which was like, to me, comedy gold. And then what's cool was, because of that laugh that I discovered in that moment, like 5 years later, I was auditioning I had my 4th callback for Oklahoma on Broadway, and Trevor Nunn was the director, and he said to me, it was like one of the final callbacks, there was like 10 people in the room, and he goes, have you ever heard of the character Gertie Cummings? And I said, no. He said, well, she's got an abominable laugh. Have you got one? And I said, I have 2, I have 2. And he was like, all right, let me hear them. So one of them was the one that I came up with during the Chappelle Show thing. And I don't remember what the other one was, but I think finding a character through finding their laugh is like one of the most fun things in the world to do. So, I think it was like, just one of those kind of like crazy over the top sort of like, somebody who thinks something's too funny and you're like, okay, simmer down now. You need to chill out, girl. It's like, I don't know if you've ever been in an audience, like at a stand-up thing, and there's like that one girl who's just a little too drunk. And she's in the front and she's laughing at everything. And you're like, shut up. Because you're heckling this person, even though you think it's funny, it's not. One last question, guys, and I hope you come see me tomorrow and Sunday or one or the other, whatever you can. I know there's a lot going on, but I'd love to see you all again. Oh, and I'm doing autographs after this, 4:30 to 6? 4:30 to 6, so definitely come see me there. I have like 3 new prints that I'm excited about, so. One last question was, anybody?
Take it away.
Bueller. Yes.
Hi there. In your opinion,
I can actually see you.
and observations, would you say that there's a certain quality that sets apart a voice actor compared to someone just doing voices in front of the mirror in the mornings?
I do. I think it's, you have to be grounded in a reality, and you have to be an actor, you know? And it doesn't mean you have to have studied it. It could be inherently inside of you. I do think that studying it helps you find what's inside of you. But yeah, there's a difference between doing a voice and then, I'll give an example. I had a student who sent me a bunch of impersonations of him. We'd only been studying together for like 2 weeks, and he was like, here, I want you to hear this. And he sent himself doing like 5 different characters, Star Wars people, stuff like that. And he did the voice of the character from the movie, but he also did the line from the movie. And I said to him, okay, well that's good, but can you be that character outside of that? Can you be that character outside of Star Wars? You know, and he was like, oh, because if you do an impersonation, you have to be able to take that character into any situation in the world to live inside that character. You know? So that's one differentiation. And committing. I say commit 110%. Whereas, you know, someone doing voice, you know, may be kind of committing, but also second guessing themselves. And like, am I doing it right? Maybe I'm not. You know, in the moment, you have to pretend, even if you're not, you have to pretend to be the most confident person. Not all of us are confident. Actually, a lot of us fake it. It's part of acting. If you've ever been to an on-camera commercial waiting room, it is the freakiest thing you will ever see in your life. This is what it's like. Hey Bob, how are you? How's it going? How are the kids? Oh, great, yeah. Did you get that mower? Yeah, I got that too, yeah. I was at Lowe's. Yeah, cool. Yeah, great seeing you. Oh, tell Marcy I said hi. I'll see you at graduation. Great. Are you going to the benefit tomorrow night? Cool. Like, every guy in the room is just like so perfect or pretending to be. And I think that's how they get the part, is they pretend to be confident when they're overcompensating, obviously, for something. But there's a different kind of confidence, too, that's a little more genuine that you can have. And it is a weird thing to say, but, you know, I'm not always 100% confident when I go into an audition. But when I, you know, take that deep breath before I walk in, I go, you know, you're good. I tell myself you're good, and you're gonna have a great time, and you're gonna enjoy performing for people. Because an audition is a chance to perform. Even if, you know, you never get the part, you still got to perform in front of that director, in front of that casting director. So, confidence, or portraying confidence, committing 110%, and being able to live outside of that character and outside of that situation, in any given situation. So those are some of the things. Thank you guys so much for coming. That was awesome. So many amazing questions I've never been asked before, and it was a great time. And so maybe I'll see some of you autographs, and maybe I'll see some of you tomorrow at my other panel or something on Sunday. Thanks so much, guys. Bye. Now I'm going to exit.
This video is sponsored by the Crazy Kings of Toys. Check them out for all your toy needs and find out why they are so crazy. Find them on eBay, Bricklink, and Facebook. Links are in the description. For more Toxic Pop, visit our website at toxicpop1.wixsite.com/toxicpop. Email us at toxicpop1@gmail.com and check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/toxicpop1 and Instagram at instagram.com/wearetoxicpop. Links are in the description.